Good afternoon and welcome to the November 20th, 2024 Technical Review Committee meeting. The time is 1:01 and the meeting is now in session. My name is Ryan Fisher. I'm the Director of Oldham County Planning and Development. The purpose of the Technical Review Committee is to review proposed subdivisions, zoning map amendments, or development plans before they go to the Planning Commission. This gives our local agencies and utility companies, those represented here in front of you today, the opportunity to review those plans, discuss and comment about the accessibility of services, and ensure all aspects of those development plans adhere to zoning and subdivision regulations. This meeting also provides adjoining property owners and concerned citizens in attendance the opportunity to ask technical questions of either the applicants or the agencies that are represented here today. So we have two items on the agenda. The first one is a Griffith Event Center. So both of these cases will run the same way. We will have the applicant come forward and give a brief presentation of their plan, the overview of their application. The agencies represented in front of you will then provide their comments, and then we will have an opportunity for public comment. If anyone in the audience would like to come forward, we just ask that those questions at this point of the process remain technical in nature, and those can either be of the applicant or of any of the agencies represented today before you. So if you come up, you'll just state your name and address for the record. State that clearly so Christy can get that in the record. And then after that, that will close that case. So with that being said, the first one is TRC 24-015 for Griffith Event Center across from 1020 W.D. Griffith Lane in LaGrange. Would the applicant like to come forward?
All right. I don't know, are you going to pull the site plan up? Can you throw that up there or not?
No.
Okay. Well,
I didn't bring it, no.
Sorry, that's right. I mean, this is a pretty simple site. Chris Crumpton, Bluestone Engineers, 4350 Brownsboro Road, Suite 110, Louisville, Kentucky, 40207. We are proposing at the intersection of D.W. Griffith and Commerce Parkway, it's existing commercial zoning in the business park there. An event center, probably be about 20,000 square feet. I think our application said 22,400, but it might be a little slightly smaller than that after we've been working with the building suppliers. We will be providing on-site detention. There are existing utilities are at the site. We have applied for capacity with MSD. They said it shouldn't be a problem. There's electric, there's water, there's already sidewalks and a walking trail around the site. This was part of a larger tract that was broken off by minor plat last year. So this will be approximately 7 acres on the east side of D.W. Griffith. We did also, in advance, proactively working with Jim, have Diane Zimmerman provide a traffic counts and a traffic impact study to analyze that intersection. Basically, we found that we'd be adding about 150 trips, with Friday being kind of our peak hour trips, since it'll be more spread out kind of on the weekend. And it really didn't change much. It really reduced that intersection from a level B of service to a level C. So I think in discussions with Jim, we were just trying to make sure that it didn't facilitate or necessitate any additional turning lanes or requirements, which we don't feel that it does now. And I think there has been some discussions about whether we need to present that to the Planning Commission or not. I don't think we do, but I guess, if that's what we need to discuss. So,
all right. That concludes your comments?
Yes.
All right. So we'll have agency comments. We'll start with Anna Barge, our senior planner, with planning and development comments.
Anna Barge, Senior Planner. The following comments apply to the Oldham County Planning and Development review of the plans dated May 29th, 2024 for the Griffith Event Center project submitted for TRC review. Number 1, indicate the proposed building lines showing the distance setback from the street right-of-way. Number 2, verify that all locations of utilities have been indicated on the plan. Number 3, indicate the areas of substantial trees, including a general description of their type and sizes. Number 4, note whether there are any areas of steep slope, and if there's not, just note that. Verify if the stormwater flow is indicated on the plan. Indicate the location and ownership of all adjoining properties. Indicate the sanitary sewers, street grades, and other facilities. Indicate the amount of open space and the lot coverage percentage. And you can have these hard
Okay.
copies if you would like.
All right, Jim Silliman.
So some of these comments, I'll provide, or Anna said she can provide you a copy of the review letter and markups that we've
Great.
established via email. And we discussed a lot of this, as you said, at a pre-application meeting, but for the benefit of the public, I'll repeat some of it. One, since the land disturbance area is greater than an acre, of course, you'll be required to get a KYR 10 permit from the Division of Water for construction, as well as a stormwater quality management and erosion control permit from my office, and that'll be provided with, or done with the permit application to my office. There is a mapped blue line stream jurisdictional water on the property. Right now, it doesn't appear that your construction affects that, and as long as it doesn't, that's great. If during construction plan development, you determine that you do impact that some, that would of course require permitting from the Division of Water and Army Corps of Engineers. You're aware, I think you're aware with the detention calculations, just abide by the Oldham County ordinance for the 210 100-year storm
Right.
design events. Water quality is required in accordance with our current ordinance. General accommodations for traffic flow, make sure the circulation is provided for larger vehicles or what you're going to be inviting into that parking lot. On the red line, you'll notice we circled the dumpster. We'd rather it not be by a storm inlet in case there's any leaching from the dumpster.
Okay.
So maybe relocate it further back. Speaking of the parking lot, it's shown as DGA, dense grade aggregate, in that back area or overflow area. In accordance with our current regulations, that has to be a non-dusting surface.
Okay.
Typically, we'll approve either millings or chip seal, but some type of non-dusting surface. Lastly, really with regard to the traffic impact study you mentioned, it would be presented to the Plan Commission because that's one of the criteria that'll send it to Plan Commission is that you are over that 100 peak hour trips.
Okay.
And so we'll discuss that further. I'd like to get together with you and or your traffic engineer, Diane Zimmerman, and discuss the traffic counts. As you mentioned, the peak hours are a little not standard for this facility's usage and typical rush hour. So those Friday evening counts that were taken, I called and spoke with the Sauerbeck Drive-In, which utilizes this road, just to kind of discuss their traffic flow, because those are going to be the two main generators. And the time and the date that those traffic counts were taken was probably a unpopular movie and a slow night, so I don't know that we got representative counts.
Okay.
I won't name the movie for the sake of that movie. So again, if we could, we'll discuss that further between now and the Planning Commission,
Okay.
so we make sure that traffic study addresses that appropriately. Just for your awareness, we're also in the process of soliciting proposals from engineers for a traffic study of Commerce Parkway, the entirety of it for county use. So, we'll incorporate that in that discussion that we have intent in the future to make improvements, and we're looking at that right now.
Right.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep.
Matt?
I don't have any comments. If it gets approved, we'll just give it a number.
I think our only question was, I don't think we still have an address assigned to that property.
We don't address vacant property until something like this or like a building permit is issued.
Okay, I just
because we
thought-
don't know the physical use or how many
Right.
numbers we're going to
Okay.
need. So that's
or how
why-
many numbers or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Sure.
Along those lines, I'm not sure if this permit, based on the size of the building, will go to the state or not for their inspection and
Yeah, I
and
think
building
it probably
permit.
will. Yeah.
But if so, you'll just want to coordinate with him at that time, since that permit technically won't be coming through our office. Another thing on Anna's letter, we'll want to make sure to notice, make sure that you all do know a landscape and lighting plan will be required before building
Yes.
submittal. All right, Chief, go ahead. I didn't think you had anything.
I don't have anything since it does not impact the schools.
Okay.
Keith Smith, LaGrange Fire and Rescue Department. even though it may do a state inspection from the local level, I would like a full set of the plans for
Okay.
LaGrange Fire and Rescue. I'd also like to see the existing hydrant locations.
Okay.
I know where they are, but I won't see them on paper
Okay,
there.
that's fine. Yeah, there's a couple on the site,
Yeah,
actually.
yes,
So.
yeah, one I'm thing all the way to the end, down by the drive-in, and then went one further up. And then also, I'll just mention that LaGrange Fire and Rescue, I'll require a Knox box to be on that
Right.
property. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks.
You didn't mention Knox box. You don't want a Knox box there? Did he? Oh, sorry. She was talking to me when you said that. Oh, yeah. I was waiting for it. I like that one. Okay. All right. That concludes our comments. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to comment on this project? All right. Seeing none, that closes this project. Our filing deadline is obviously today, so if you all choose to go forth to the Planning Commission, anybody that received notice of this hearing will be noticed of any additional hearings. So thank you
Okay.
very much.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. All right, next case is TRC 24-016 for the Hearth Foundation at 1201 East Highway 524 in LaGrange for a preliminary subdivision plan.
Thank you. Mike Hill with Land Design and Development. You all may recall this site. We were here at TRC about a year ago with a more intense development. I think it had 12 lots, but we've kind of gone back to the drawing board, so to speak, and come back with what's proposed as a 6-lot property division. It's about 200 acres in total. Lots 1, 2, and 3, which are the ones colored in yellow, those are intended for residential home construction, one home on each of the lots. 2 of the lots are 10 acres, one of those is 15 acres. I can actually point here, so these 3 yellow lots here. Lot 4 is this kind of large area here, and it kind of winds over to the shared access easement, which the access to these 4 lots in the back would be in this location here, which is currently an access easement that serves this property. So our proposal, pending state approval, is to utilize the shared access easement and improve it for lots 1, 2, 3, and 4. Lot 5 is approximately 80 acres, I believe. It's this large piece and almost all of the Highway 524 road frontage. The intent there is to put that into a conservation easement. And so the applicant is in talks with groups that are interested in doing that. So that is their intention with Lot 5. No kind of building or development on it. Lot 6, which is the one on the far right, I believe it's 30 acres. It is proposed to be purchased by this adjacent property owner to the northeast and used agriculturally. May or may not build a home at some point in the future, one home on the property. It has the required 300 feet of road frontage on 524 here. So that's pretty much what we've come back with compared to previously. We had our second neighborhood meeting a few weeks back. We've had discussions with some of the agencies here. We've talked to the water department, which I see they're not here. Maybe Russ sent his comments to you. I don't know. And so, we're prepared to answer any questions. There was, I will point out, previously when we were here, there was a proposal to include a large building called an Innovation Center on the property on one of the larger tracts on the site. That has been completely removed from this site altogether. The group is looking for other locations for that, and they're in talks with another site completely unrelated to this piece of property. So that is off the table completely. So really, it's preserving the existing character of the area by developing less of it and putting the 3 developed houses in the rear, preserving as many of the existing trees as possible. That's pretty much the summary of it. The applicants here, our attorneys here, if they need help answer questions, they can hop up here and do so. But we're ready to receive your comments.
All right, Anna?
Okay, I'm going to first read the comments from Jason Richardson, the Transportation Engineer Supervisor of Permits from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. He said that tracks 1 through 4 should share the existing access easement. Tracks 5 and 6 should share access to the highway as well, the location of which will be subject to meeting site distance requirements. And that's his entirety of his comments.
Okay.
And then on our end, for the planning side, the following comments apply to the Oldham County Planning and Development Review of the plans dated October 23rd, 2024, for Hearth Foundation, Inc. Coordinate with the post office about what kind of mailboxes they would prefer with the postmaster. Note the location and size of water mains, sanitary sewers, gas lines, fire hydrants, electric and telephone poles, or underground wires. Note the location and purpose of easements. There might not be any, but we just want to make sure that those are included. Indicate the areas of substantial trees, as there are for sure those, including the general description of their type and size. Note whether there are any areas of steep slope, just like we said with the last person. If there's not, you just need to notate that there's not. Add more detail on the existing man-made features, including the building on Lot 5 near Highway 524. Indicate, if applicable, the location of proposed drainage facilities. I don't know if that's even applicable, but I just want to note that. Same with any proposed stormwater detention basin, and then this is probably more of Jim Silliman's side, the stream, if you would have to do any stream relocation. And then add the notation of stormwater flow, and then note the acreage and street right away. Add a graphical and written explanation of all symbols and labels. And then there were 2 parcel numbers that had incorrect property owners on there. Make sure when you're looking at those to do the PVA's website, because our GIS is not always up to date. So I've listed those parcel numbers out on here on your letter, and I'll give this to you.
Okay.
Mr. Silliman?
2 things similar to the previous case. One, you're aware of a lot of these comments I'm going to make, given your history expertise. And also, Anna said she will provide a copy of the letter and the markups to via email or scan. One, as this is a common plan of development that's likely going to disturb more than an acre within our ordinance, that would require we address stormwater quality, detention or retention for the increase in impervious surface. So you would need the KYR 10 from the Division of Water, that permit, as well as the stormwater quality management and erosion control permit from my office. Any design for those facilities would need to meet our ordinance and also include the water quality requirement as appropriate. Anna mentioned the potential stream. If there is impact to the jurisdictional waters on the site, of course, you need permitting or correspondence from the Army Corps of Engineers and Division of Water to resolve that. We'd prefer that if stream crossings are involved for any type of access, the driveway is not shown on here, to do that up front as opposed to later on with the individual sites, so we can address this, the impact of the stream at one time, as opposed to with 4 subsequent building permits. Jason Richardson already, sounds like, provided his comments for KYTC and that required encroachment permit. Let's see. I think that's all the really high-level stuff. Oh, also with regard to traffic, this does not meet either of the criteria that would require it. You submit a traffic assessment or a traffic impact study. Any other smaller level notes you'll get in the review comments. So.
Okay.
This existing house that's on Lot 5, is that its own separate parcel? Because the PVA has it as being like a half an acre or an acre.
Somewhere in here. Yeah, the current.
I don't know if we talked about that the last time.
Yeah, the current site's made up of 2 large acreages.
Because they had like a little notch cut out, and it had its own parcel number, but I don't.
Yeah.
Not that it really matters for this, but I just wanted to, just to bring it to your attention.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
know. And then as far as all these other lots, this part of 524 is problematic address-wise. So I think that we're going to have that access easement named and have like a road physical name. So you'll just have to get with me with what kind of proposed names you might want to use, and we'll just check to make sure that we don't have anything that's similar to it or any duplicates in the county.
Okay.
But that's all. Those are the only comments I have.
Matt, real quick, if that is the case, so the other parcel that's already existing up there, which would be to the left of tract 1, would that mean their address would have to change to what that access easement is named, or? Yeah.
I mean, hopefully not, but it depends on where the mailboxes go. And since that is an existing address, I mean,
Yeah.
I
think
and
that-
their driveway there is
Right.
kind of odd, and it sits far back. But I think that depending on, and this would probably be a better question for the post office, but even if they put a road name out there and there is still a number, we'll number the other street numbers for this existing road something very different, because right here at Conservation Road, it's 1,000 and 1,000 east and west, like right there.
Okay.
So I'm not too worried about having to go change somebody's existing number,
Yeah.
but we'll make the other numbers so different that there won't be any kind of confusion as
sure.
to being like, we'll make it 5,000 or whatever.
Sure. I think the intention there with that shared access for those back 4 lots is to provide a space. It's in a dangerous curve now, and I'm sure all of the school buses and mail and trash and anybody who goes through their emergency services might have an issue with their driveway being in the curve. So the point, I think, is to create a space off of 524 where there's more of a safe kind of a turnaround area where they could have shared area for mailboxes and trash cans and school bus drop off and the mail truck to pull over and the fire truck to get in and all of those things. So I think that's the plan there, to kind of make a nice, better, safer area on our site where all these 4 lots and the adjacent neighbor could also utilize.
Yeah. So, I mean, as long as they're clearly marked, then I don't think they will. I mean, maybe Keith can speak to, if it's not even in his district, but, as to what you'd like to see out there, or just numbered mailboxes, just so that you would know. But
Okay.
Sure.
I
Well,
don't see a problem with
we'll-
changing the existing owner's address with it.
Yeah, we're happy to work with you on the street name and the addressing, as this proceeds.
All right.
Sure.
Mr. Williams.
So the serving schools would be Buckner Elementary School, Oldham Middle, Oldham High. When I run the numbers, honestly, at 3 lots, potential lots, you're talking less than a kid. So really, if I said 1 kid, we would potentially get out of this. That's the number that I'll include for our board to sign off on the capacity letter. And if you are talking about the shared driveway space, the parameters for what we've got to turn a bus around in. So
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Gotcha.
Keith Smith, LaGrange Fire and Rescue Department. I'm going to steal a word from Matt, and that was problematic. That 524 area is problematic for fire services as well, due to the lack of a large water line coming down through there. Typically in a situation like this, because, all right, you've got those 3 lots, potentially one more structure. The one where you were talking about that building on the previous plan,
On the previous
large
plan.
one. Yeah, okay. That could, at some point, have a single-family dwelling on it, correct? I'm not
no.
talking about the conservation one, but the one
Oh, the one.
next to it. I can't see, that
This one?
That one could
yeah,
have.
The Hearth Foundation doesn't know exactly what the intention is for that as of yet. They have an idea that they might, in the future, and it may require future planning approvals and future permits, want to put a cabin or 2
Right.
for missionaries kind of on an intermittent basis. But that's not part of what we're requesting approval for
Right,
today.
right.
As of right now, that lot 4, which is, this piece, is kind of just a remainder
Right,
space.
Well, where I was going with that is to be able to have a hydrant out there on 524 or even up, closer to the curve or something is really it presents a whole lot of problems. I've had discussions with Russ and so forth about that and their engineer. I would like to propose something on these 3 houses, the ones we know are going to have single-family dwellings on them. Have no idea about price points or sizes or anything, so I'm just using some general figures. But as a way of providing the fire department the way of having better service and providing safety and all to those 3 homes up there, I'd like to see if we could have home sprinklers installed in these homes. If you take an average, let's say 2,500, 3,100 square foot single family dwelling to do like a 13R residential sprinkler system in there, I don't know, those houses might go $500,000 up, something like that. You can put a sprinkler system in that home for in the average of around 20 grand, maybe a tad more than that. I think in the overall scheme of things for a single family dwelling in that price point, $20,000 is, menial. Now, a lot of people don't understand about the sprinkler systems, especially a 13R type system. It's similar to what's in, these buildings here, but they put out a lot less water, not in this one, and all this part here is not. I forgot where I was. But they put out a lot less water, and it's not like there's a sprinkler in every room. It's not. It's going to be like in each bedroom, a mechanical area, and maybe down a hallway, and that's it.
Okay.
So it's not 100% coverage in every room. But, I would like to see something like that for those 3 homes. And if, depending on the size of the homes and or the size of the buildings and what they'd be used for up in that other area there, quite possibly a similar situation.
Very helpful. We've talked with the applicant about our options to provide fire protection. And we know that there's some different options there, whether it be hydrant or sprinklers or
Right.
some type of cistern system or
Right.
utilizing the existing ponds that are pond that's on the site. We know we have some options there. So we probably will want to reach out to you before the planning commission meeting and have the discussion,
Yes, sir.
to further your comfort level and educate them as well on
Right,
how that
right.
would work.
Okay. All right. Sounds great. That's all I had.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And I was just going to mention something, and this is more for the public that's in the room. So there's several waivers and variances that'll have to be asked for in the course of this hearing as well. So the lots 1, 2, and 3 obviously don't have road frontage in the agricultural zoning. So those will have to be have a road frontage variance asked for, as well as the number of lots that are coming in off of that access easement. The maximum that's allowed is 3 without asking for a waiver. And so, in addition to that, going off of Chief's comments was, looking at those subdivision regulations, finding out mitigating factors that you could have in lieu of what our fire protection standards are in the subdivision regulations. So I just wanted to mention that so the public's aware of there's several different asks within the big picture. So, all right. So with that being said, if anyone in the audience would like to come forward and ask questions, and once again, I'll just remind you that at this point of the process, we like to ask that you limit those questions to anything that's technical in nature, and that can either be of the applicant's representative, or any of the agencies represented here in front of you. So if anybody would like to come forward, just raise your hand, come up and state your name and address for the record, and I'll start back here in the back.
Anthony Finch, 1815 Circleview Drive. This guy has supplied a couple of public meetings on this property. He's changed it every time. According to his website today, it is still planned to have a 20 to a 60,000 square foot building on it for these retreats. The last public meeting he had, or neighborhood meeting, whatever you want to call it, each one of these properties is also supposed to have cabins surrounded for people coming in from out of town, retreat purposes for families. And this is something that this area just doesn't need and don't want it.
Do you have a question related to the? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just making
No,
sure.
I have a
Okay.
statement.
Oh,
And my statement is this man's not telling you everything that he told us. And you're going to approve something without knowing all of your facts that we do know, because he told them to us, but he's not telling you all. So that was my statement. And it's something that doesn't need to be out there. Thank you.
I will say this, and I don't know if the applicant wants to answer any, but the plans right now before us are to create the lots that they've shown today, and that 3 of those will be for single-family residential use for family. If that innovation center ever does decide to come, if that's what the applicant intends to do, that will have to come before the same board, the same process. That'll be a separate hearing completely for that. So I just want to assure you of, that wouldn't get approved within this. In addition, if he put any cabins, even on the lots he has single-family residential on, if he wanted to put a cabin, we would consider that an accessory dwelling unit. That has to go through our conditional use permit process, which goes before the Board of Adjustments. In that case, all the neighboring property owners get noticed as well. So if in the future any additional cabin or accessory dwelling unit would be put on the properties, that would also be a separate hearing. So I just want to assure you that I understand that your concerns of what he may do in the future is that those would be separate cases.
So after he does this, who's going to be the adjoining property owners? Him.
Well, yeah, but you would still have all of the lots. Well, you would go to the lot that he's consolidating with the neighbor, and you would still have the other same lots across the street and adjoining on Morgan Conservation and all that area. So, but
You give
those
them
are
an
the
inch
ones.
and they take a mile.
Right. Those are the ones that have to
said
be noticed at least by mail. Now, we'll still advertise that on our website, and it still gets posted in the Oldham Era. So, but as far as legally, we only have to notify the adjoining property owners. So,
Thank you.
y'all have any comments to that, or did I do good enough for? You can, if you have a response to him, you can.
I can just confirm that at the neighborhood meeting a few weeks ago, it was explained explicitly that the previously approved or proposed innovation center on this site is no longer a part of this site. There was no I can't speak to their website. Maybe it hasn't been updated. But as far as what's proposed today and what's been presented at the most previous neighborhood meeting, did not include the innovation center, did not include cabins all over the place. We mentioned 3 single-family lots, a potential conservation easement lot, a lot to be sold to a neighbor for agricultural purposes, and Lot 4 may have up to 2 cabins at some point in the future, pending future planning approvals. I'll also say that regardless of the notification that happened today, anybody's welcome to participate in a hearing as it goes forward. We would even agree to a condition of approval that would send notices to the adjacent property owners of the entirety of the property if a future plan would ever be, or application would ever be submitted. So I think that would cover that concern.
Speak to the website.
Okay. And
Yes, Kim Howell with the Hearth Foundation. Just to speak to the website, that is definitely an oversight on our part. We will make that change on the website in short order. But we can assure you, and we have one of our board members here with us today, the Innovation Center is not, nor will ever go on that property. It will not go there. And that can be documented for whoever needs to know that. And we'll make the correction on our website. And sorry for the oversight.
Thank you. Go over here.
My name is Tom Fuller, 1415 Rebel Ridge Road. And I want to talk about zoning here. It is agricultural, correct? Now, since they're meeting and telling us what they're going to do with these properties, these 3 houses and everything is solely to bring people in from out of town. Bring them in, bring them out. They're housing people, missionaries, whatever. They're bringing them in, they're building houses to house these people. So it seems like that could be a commercial operation. It's not agricultural. It's not going to be a family living in this. They're going to bring them in, move them out all the time. So that's not going to be agricultural. It's going to change. We have to address that. You have to know about this. So their own admission, that's what they do. They're going to own all these lots. They're not selling them. So I think we need to think about, is this a commercial operation in the country? I don't think we want it.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
My name is Kay Bauer, and I live at 4800 Sycamore Valley Trail in Westport. So my question relates to the conservation easement that's going to be placed on the property. So I have some basic technical questions. One, is it a permanent easement or is it a temporary easement? 2, will the easement be held by a 501c3 like Riverfields or the Bluegrass Conservancy? And 3, with a conservation easement, there would normally be legal covenants or restrictions placed upon the property? And do we know what those specific restrictions would be? Because that would make a huge difference in how the conservation easement is managed and how that land can be used.
All right. You all have answers to that?
I'll say what I can. And maybe the applicant can provide an update. The intent is for that lot to be entered into a conservation easement agreement. I don't know if you all have an update on that since we last spoke. I know that their plan is to have more detailed information for the Planning Commission meeting, right? So all of those details have yet to be determined. They're trying to sort through all that and figure out the best group and way to proceed. But the intention is to have the land preserved in its natural state as much as possible, indefinitely. So hope to have more on that prior to the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Zach Bishop, 2401 Conservation Park Road. I'm the property behind it. Just in regards to the joint easement there coming off of 524 with the lot that's not part of this 200 acres there, the one running parallel to Conservation Park, that access point would be an easement that's on that property. Am I correct on that? How do we know how wide that easement is, and is it sufficient to supply access to 4 lots?
Do you know the answer to that?
It shows it as 50 feet platted, provided by the applicant, and I think typically our minimum for an easement is 40 feet. So it's...
And that 40 feet would be good for ingress, egress plus water and electric, or would those be in addition to the 40 feet?
It depends on how they designed it. If it's run along the side, I think we'd have to communicate with the utilities. But again, 40 feet is typically the minimum access easement.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody? Yes, sir.
Lauren Johnson. I live on 1001 Stagecoach Road within a mile of this. Do they intend to build more than 3 houses on that property?
Did you ask if they want to build more than 3 houses on that property?
Yes, sir.
So as of right now, they're splitting that into 3 separate lots to have 3 separate single-family residential units. So our regulations state there's only 1 house on a lot. And that minimum lot size is an acre. So is there potential for them to split that into more lots down the road? Yes. We do have a rule that you can only create 2 new lots every 5 years, okay, which is why they're going through this process of a major subdivision. So down the road, they could technically split it more and create more single-family houses, but once again, that process would come through here again, would come through Planning Commission again, would come through all of those same processes. So right now, the plans that are on the table are to create these 3 lots for single-family use. And like I mentioned earlier, if they were to create any sort of accessory dwelling unit or cabin on the property, that would have to go through that process through our Board of Adjustments for conditional use. If they were to split those lots again into further subdivisions, that would have to come before us as well. So,
Well, my question is, do we have the water supply for this operation? I have 32 pounds of water pressure at my house on Stagecoach Road. What's going to happen when they develop this whole thing? Do we have the water pressure or the water supply for a massive subdivision or whatever they've got planned? That's what I'm asking. I'm concerned about the water.
So unfortunately, that would be a question the water department would have to answer, and Russ isn't here. I know they said they've had communications with him, and he's going to look at it from an instance of, water to the property for your faucets and everything like that, shower. Keith Smith's going to look at it from the process of fire protection, and, as well as the water department is going to look at that on whether or not they can put hydrants out there, which is where the fire departments come back with, the opportunity for possibly sprinklers to mitigate that factor. So unfortunately, I don't have that answer because I don't work for the water department, but we'll see if we can't get an answer from Russ with the water department. And if you sign in out there, we can get your email address and send you an answer to that to answer your question if that's okay. Unless she's got something.
Well, I just wanted to clarify that the major subdivision application doesn't mean they're building a neighborhood. It just means they're dividing more than creating more than 2 new lots. So I think that's kind of confusing because a lot of people, when they hear the term major subdivision, they think like, an actual like subdivision with an HOA and like a neighborhood, but that's not what that term means. So I just wanted to clarify for y'all, that means it's more than 2 new lots. So to kind of clear that up. That doesn't mean, like, I don't know what their intentions are, like, long-term, but I just want to clear up that they're not, like, creating an actual neighborhood subdivision out of this currently.
Like I say, my concern is, do we have enough water to handle it? That's the question.
Okay. Well, I'll reach out to Russ, and we'll send you an email if it's on the sign-in sheet out there.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Okay. I knew if I waited long enough, somebody might take me up.
My name's Josh Reardon. I live at 1115 East Highway 524. I was just wondering, so my driveway is the one that's going to have the shared access on it. That's a pretty dangerous spot right there. I think everybody's in agreement on that. I'm just wondering why, with all the road frontage they have, why they chose that spot in particular. I mean, you've got road frontage up on top of the hill. I don't understand why we're applying for a waiver in a dangerous place when we have a better option somewhere else. That's all.
Y'all want to answer that?
Speak to that a little bit. Our intention was to come off of Conservation Park Road, which is the road here that leads back to the county conservation park. We initially looked at that, realized that it wasn't possible. Talked to the county about that previously, and so when we scaled back the plan, realized that the intention was to preserve the character and the perspective from Highway 524 as much as possible. Additionally, knowing that the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet was going to severely restrict any access along 524, whether we proposed lots along the 524 frontage or not. So the decision was made to utilize an existing shared access easement to your property when it was created by minor subdivision plat several years ago. That the limited number of access points to Kentucky Highway 524 was something that KTC was strongly encouraging. So our intent is to work with KTC, to work with you, Mr. Riordan, to try to create the safest situation there possible, and have the least amount of impact, on you specifically, as we can do. And we're happy to, continue conversing with you, as we proceed here in the coming weeks.
Thank you.
Can I expand on that?
Yes.
When you mentioned the access was not available by the existing park road, just for everyone's understanding, there was a purchase agreement years ago when between Oldham County Fiscal Court and the sellers of the property of the Morgan Conservation Park, and the purchase agreement clearly stated that access would only be provided to tracks 1, 2, and 3. They're not labeled on, but it did not allow other access. So that's actually binding through a recorded document.
All right. Anybody have anything else you'll need to come up and ask that question so we can get you on the record. So. Sorry to make you walk all the way.
Josh Reardon, 1115 East Highway 524. Can we apply to a waiver for that rule?
It's a separate, again, recorded document. It's a purchase agreement. We'd have to consult with the county attorney to see how that could be changed. It's
So
it's
is
not
that a
an agreement
yes or a
associated
no,
with this
or-
property.
So is that a yes or a no, or?
That's I don't know. We'd
I
have
don't
to
know.
check with our attorney.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Has the road department done a study on this part here? And I say this because I think they're misleading how much traffic will be involved with all the people coming in and out of here. What they're telling you is not, they're not just single-family homes. These are meant to dwell people in and out all the time. So there's people coming in, coming, going. There'll be a lot of traffic there. So I think that we need a traffic study done. I would like to ask that we get one. Can we do that?
I don't.
The purpose of lots 1, 2, and 3 is to build one single-family home on each that will be lived in by a family of the Hearth Foundation. It's not to have missionaries cycle in and out.
That's not what you told us at the meeting.
Yeah, we did.
No, you did not.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to.
Thank you. Thank you.
No.
That's not, well, continue.
Let me just explain.
Continue.
Lots 1, 2, and 3 are for the Howells and their family to live permanently. They're permanent primary residents. Three lots, 3 homes, not a shuffling in and out of people. If they propose cabins for missionaries, it would be on lot 4, which is here, and it would be a maximum of 2. And it would be at a future proposed planning approval as necessary. It's not anything more than that. It's three residential homes for the Howe family, and then a potential future 2 cabins for missionaries.
Will the House family be using those houses to let other people use them occasionally?
No, it'll be their primary residence.
Okay. Well, once again, your story has changed.
All right.
So,
It did not.
Well, we can hash that out at further meetings, so.
But,
I'm sorry if there was misunderstanding.
no, my hearing was good. If there is going to be cabins and everything, then I think there still be a study. That road is not good. Everybody knows that. So we think we need the road department to take a careful look at that. We would ask that.
Well, and once again, I'll answer again, is that if they come back with a plan to put cabins in, or they come back with a plan to put an innovation center in, that is a completely separate case. The only thing, when there's no decisions made here at this meeting, but the only thing the planning commission is going to be essentially ruling on, if they come to the planning commission and apply, would be what is presented before them. So, and everybody would have to speak under oath at that hearing. So we can deal with all those he said, she said's at that moment, so.
Okay.
All right?
But once they get their foot in the door, things will continue.
So, and what was your name, just again for the record? I know you spoke early, but.
Tom Fuller.
Okay. Thank you.
You have my address
Did
again?
you already did it the first time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. We're good. Yes.
Sorry, one more. Zach Bishop. This is zoned agriculture now, correct? So if this were approved, what would the 3 residential lots then be zoned?
Yeah,
They would stay agriculture.
Yeah, they would stay
So what-
agriculture. They're not asking for a zoning change.
Pardon my ignorance, but what would the setback requirements be for those single-family residents, more so on my lot line is what I'm concerned about?
And you said you live in the
The
rear?
house, the back, the house.
Yeah, right behind them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so for the rear yard setback, it's a 40 feet setback requirement for their house.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Kirk Howell Hearth Foundation. Yeah, what you're seeing, I think you've said it best. We've got to come back if we're going to build some cabins. And that was, our intention the whole time we bought the property, which we've stated that all the way through. And since everybody's hearing is good here today too, those are 3 residential homes will be used for single-family residential homes. That's exactly what our intent is. I just want to make sure everybody's hearing is good. They can hear that. Thank you.
All right. And the other thing to add on that too, so all the planning commission hearings, those approvals come with a set of binding elements. So that could be something in the course of that hearing, that a binding element could be put in there, that it's not to be used for commercial purposes, that it could not be used for short-term rental, that could not be used. So those are all things that could be placed in there in the binding element based on evidence and testimony, based on, the staff report, we create our own. So just to throw that in there as well, that all of our planning commission approvals come with binding elements. And one of them is always, it only applies to the plans presented at that particular day's hearing. So if any of the plans change at any moment, if the size of, maybe not necessarily the size of the house, but if the location of the house, if whatever changes, they actually have to come back to the planning commission for approval for those changes. So just to throw that out there. So one more offer, if anybody has any questions that we haven't already,
Kirk Howell Hearth Foundation. Do you have a question about the conservation easement road? I know you mentioned there was 3 lots that are coming off of there now that have access to that. So just curious to know where those 3 are. I see, where Mr. Bishop has his coming off of conservation easement and has a home all the way back there in the back. Just curious where the other, because that was news to me. I was just curious where those.
We discussed it at the TRC application for the previous
I see
plan. I've got the agreement here. I thought I
potentially.
had a plat for it. Just bear with me.
And if it was Mr. Reardon's, that might be interesting to know.
Just a second. I'll put it on the.
Yeah.
Kirk, I can tell you what 3 they are.
Okay, thanks.
So there's my lot.
You can use the cursor, the mouse.
All right.
And-
So there's I don't know the numbers on them, but I can tell you. There's my lot here. There's this lot here, which is owned by somebody here. And then it's either this, which is owned by the county, or it's the park itself. Those, I believe, are the 4 lots, the park being one, the other 3 having access to that road. So it's myself, one other owner, and the county being in the park.
Yep. Jay, will you switch that over?
Okay, so this indicates access to tracks 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3 on this plat are, there's 3, there's 1, and here's 2. So as I think Mr. Reardon was saying, it's approximately this area, the park in the rear, and then here. So.
You. All right. Does anybody have anything? All right. So with that being said, so if you received notice of today's hearing, if they choose to go forward to the Planning Commission with this case, you'll be notified as well by mail. Once again, by law, we have to notify every adjoining property owner. So we'll post that on our website. It'll be posted in the Oldham Era, word of mouth, however you all choose to disseminate information. I know they won't be going to the December agenda because we've already talked about this. So the earliest they would be able to go would be the January Planning Commission hearing. Those are the 4th Tuesday of every month, and those are at 9 a.m. And I'll just tell you all, since there's a lot of people in the audience, if you can't be there at that meeting, you're more than welcome to provide comments to our office. Your letter that you'll receive will say they have to be in pretty early, but really we'll kind of take any written notice up to about the day before the hearing. So if you can't be there, you can email us. We'll read those into the record, or you're more than welcome to show up at the meeting and speak as well. That's a public hearing with public comment. So with that being said, if nobody has anything else, we'll adjourn this meeting, especially since the lights are going out at 1:59. Thank you.